In this video, we're going to focus on how we can create what we call a color scale designed for a bubble chart. As you can see here, this bubble chart is what we call the largest shape and has the highest value of 25. And because of that, it's become solid. But this one here is number 13, and number 13 is somewhere here in the scale, I guess. And you can see here, as the value goes down, it becomes lighter, but it will never be fully transparent. But you can see here, slightly lighter blue. So let's start to explore how to do this. So let's start to explore how to create the legend scale for the min and max side of the bubble chart. So this was a quite interesting question, and it's quite tricky. So what we're going to do is a lot of different items. First of all, what we're going to do is get our default code, which is in Chartjs 3.com, and you can find this link also in the description box. Specifically the getting started, that's the one we need. Scroll down here and then copy this entire chunk of code. Once you copy this, and if you want to understand what this code does, make sure you watch this video here, which explains it all. I'm going to paste this all in there. Once I did that, I'll cut out the title up and then put it in here, save that, refresh. So now we have a basic bar chart. I'm going to convert this into a bubble chart. So I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to say here, instead of bar, this will be bubble. And then I will go up here and then I'll just change the structure of the data. Remember, a bubble chart requires 3 different data points, which are basically also in an object. So the data is an object within an object, and then here we have the x value, let's say number 1. Then we have the y value. I'll just grab here the value that of number 18. And finally, we have the r value, which is the radius. So let's say 5 pixels in radius, comma. And what I will do now is, because we have 7 items here, I'll just duplicate this 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or sorry, I need to copy it 6 more times. So we have in total 7 data points. And then here, alright, you can remove the final comma there, that's alright. And then here I'm going to say this will be 9, this will be 6, this will be 8, 15, 12, 7. So then what I want to do here is the next one, which is on the x, we say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the radius, let's make them all different. Let's say this one is 5, we can make this 3, we make this 10, we make this 7, well, let's say 3 as well, 2, and then finally 7.5. So if I save this, refresh, we should have now all of these different colors here. So there's 2 ways to do it. You can do it in the colors, but the color requires a different code, and I will not focus that in this video. So I'm going to get only one color, but what I want to work with is the gradient item. So I'm going to select one. So let's say here, in this case, I'm going to grab this blue color, cut out this, and I'm going to delete everything, including the brackets. So I'm not going to create an array. So it's just a single value. I'm going to put it in here as well, but this border color will be just a solid blue color. If I save this, refresh, now we have this here. So what I want to do now is, basically, we need to make this a color dependent or gradient dependent on the values here. So for that, we're going to play around with the background color. There we are. This is the background color here. So I'm going to delete this. Then what I'm going to say here, this background color, I will create a callback functionality from this. I'm going to say here color. This will be color, and this color, put in here curly braces. Then in here, all I want to do right now is console log dot color. Save that. Refresh. Open up developer tab. And right now, of course, it doesn't do anything, so don't worry about it. That is correct. But you can see here, what I need is to get the exact value, and specifically not the x and y. What you can see here, you can see it is a custom. Well, this is interesting. It's considered a custom, but it's basically the radius. That's right. So we have the r for radius. And what I want to do is basically I want to grab these numbers. Normally, and that's the default here, basically we could do an array here. We could create a separate array. I will not do that because of one thing. Normally, if you have this data, it should come from your database or from somewhere else. And I will make, in the near future, I will make many videos about PHP and MySQL combined in all this Chart.js. But I assume it comes from somewhere else. So that's why I'm going to just use a simple trick here, just to select here the minimum value and the maximum value of the r value, the radius. Yes. So if you want to really grab them, basically if you say your color raw.r, save, refresh, you will see here you get the official values. In this case, just to make it simple, I'm going to just only select here the min and max. And I will show you later on how you can use an array method to grab or extract the minimum value and extract the maximum value. However, for now, I will just leave that, we just ignore this for now. So what I'm going to say here, constant. And then we say here the minimum value equals 2.5. Am I correct? 2.5? Sorry, no, it's 2. Why 2? The lowest value right now is 2. Then you have another constant, we will say max value, and the max value is in this case 10. So then what I want to do here is basically this value here would be what is the current value. This is the color raw dot r, as you can see here, that's the current value of the specific item. So what I'm going to say here is the constant value, which is the current value of that specific data point. Copy that, put it in here. So what we want to do then is here to create a color or the alpha value dependent on the value we have here. So if it's the highest value of 10, it should be fully dark. And if it's the smallest value, in this case 2 pixels, then it should be very light. In this case, my alpha value will not be 100% transparent or 100% solid. And the reason why is if it's transparent, you will not notice it. So I will put in the official or the default color that we assigned previously, which was 0.2. So that will be the starting point. So then what we're going to do here is basically this. So here it is. And we say let alpha, we're going to calculate the alpha value. And the alpha value is, we're going to say here, the minimum plus whatever the value is, which is correct because the minimum is 2. And then once we did this, then we say divide by whatever the maximum value is. So if you have minimum is 2 plus the value, then divide by the total or the max value. Once we did this, we're going to say here return, and I'm going to say return RGBA. And then what I want to do here is the official color. Let's copy this color here. I guess we can just copy this, and I have this here in a template literals, by the way. So what is a template literals? It's basically another way of concatenation. If we do this, but this one of course will be dynamic based on whatever the alpha value is. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to say here $value this. Why? Because I have this template literals, and template literals I'm using here the backticks. Remember that this is the backticks, very important. If you want to know where it's on your keyboard, it's below on, at least on the MacBook, under your escape button. So if I save this now and refresh, there you are. You can see here now this one is solid, although when we hover over it, it becomes transparent again. I'm going to explain to you later on why. You can see here this is the lowest value, or this is the lowest value, which is number 2. And you can see here it's slightly transparent. So why is this one suddenly jumping up to a transparent while this one just stays here solid? Well, basically what it does, and this is the issue here, it will loop through this, but what happens if it's more than one, what it will happen is, let's say it will 1.10, for example. So basically this will indicate 112%. And that's of course not possible because transparency is 100% solid. So what will happen is if he sees this, or at least if JavaScript sees this, it considers it as 12% instead of 112. That's why it's then recalculated and become transparent here. So we're going to solve this one as well. So let's solve this item first. So what we're going to do here is we're going to give the alpha value a if statement. So basically say if, and the if will be basically this. If the alpha is beyond 1, in that case, alpha equals 1. Very straightforward. So we save this, refresh, and there you are. So you might wonder, why is it then going to 0? Well, you can see the expansion here. So if it expands on hover, the radius adjusts. And once the radius adjusts, it will adjust beyond 10. And then you get this error, or at least this buggy effect, what we have here. It's not really buggy. The issue is just the recalculation gets different. The logic is here. Or at least the logic is working against us. It's counteracting on our desire. So now we have that. What I want to do now is, because we're done here, I want to have you now this side list here, where we can see when something is very transparent, or at least light, it is the lowest value, and then if it's on the very top, we want to have the highest value, which will be, so you can see here, gradient color. Alright, so let's start to draw that one. To do that, we're going to use a plugin, but we need to make space here. How do we make space here? I'm going to show you an easy way to do it. Go in the options, we're going to say layout. And in the layout, we're going to say here, this padding, and the padding specifically will be on the right side. So our padding will be 30 pixels on the right here. If I do this, there you are. You can see now what happens. The canvas has moved a bit, and this 30 pixels will be very useful for us because now we can start working with data. So let's start to work with that. We're going to create here something. To do that, we're going to make now our plugin. So I say comma, then we'll say plugins, and then this plugin is the bracket, and we're going to say here very simple. We can call this our color scale. So basically, it's a legend, but it's a scale from X amount to the very max amount, or from the lowest amount to the max amount, and then in color gradients. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to say here, this will be our color plugin block, color scale plugin block, and then we say a constant color scale equals, and I'm going to say ID color scale, although it's not really necessary for us because we won't be using the options features in here, because this is more related to the options. So we have options here because this is an object, so we won't be using that. So that's anyway, we can skip that one. Then what I'm going to say here is the drawing time, and the drawing time will be after the dataset has been drawn. I want to draw the item. Why? If you have the tooltip, you want to make sure that the tooltip is still suitable and it will still see our item here. So let's start to work on this. What we're going to say here is, let me think, this will be after data set draw. In that case, we want to draw the other item, or specifically this shapes here, or this plugin. And then we want to make sure that the tooltip, we want to hover. That is what I was trying to say. When we have the tooltip, we want to hover, but if ever we hover over the area, we want to make sure that it will hover and the legend or the scale will be behind the tooltip and not on top of it, or else it will block the view of the tooltip. So then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create here object destructuring, and object destructuring is based on the chart itself, because this chart is based in object. And what I want to do here is I want to extract certain values. Specifically, well, let me just show you, you will understand better. I'm going to save that, and if I refresh, open up developer tab. Then once we see this here, and then let me just make sure that there's no console log. Alright, that's alright. So that's it here. So you can see here this, and then what I need is the CTX, which is the canvas, as you can see here. It pinpoints this specific canvas, and then what I also want is the chart area that's here above, which gives us the coordinates of the item. If you really want to know more about chart area, I have a video about which is called Understanding the Chart Area, which is extremely useful if you want to make plugins. Make sure you understand that. Basically, it's the coordinates here with these 4 lines. Watch that video. It's on YouTube as well. Search for that video. It's very useful. Anyway, so what I need to do is now, I want to make sure I want to be here, and I want to make sure that we're not on the chart area, but on the right side. This is the right side we need. We need the right. We need probably the width, we need the height, and probably have the top and bottom, which is just here between, because I want to make it up and down just here, not full at the bottom here to the in what we call the canvas itself. No, I want to do in matching with the chart area region. So we're going to do that one. Let's see, where are we? There we are. So in here, I'm going to say here chart, because we're going to do object destructuring. And constant. We do it like this. That's the object destructuring. And then we're going to select here, because basically what we're really saying is we want to go into the chart.ctx, for example. But now instead of saying .ctx, we can just say ctx, and you can refer to that. Next one, what I want is the chart area, but specifically, I want the top, I want the bottom, I want the height, and then I probably want to have here the right coordinates. We can also have left, but it's not necessary in our case. So then, once we have this, what I want to do here now is ctx.save to save whatever we have all above, all these coordinates, and let's start work on it. Then what I want to do here now is start to draw the rectangle. We're going to make a nice, very thin rectangle from top to bottom here. So I'm going to say here ctx dot, let's say fill style first, This is the color. So what's the color? In this case, I'll just grab this color for now. Put in this beautiful color in here. And then what I want to do here, ctx dot fill rectangle. So we're going to draw a rectangle which is filled, and filled means with background color. And the background color will be, in this case, that here. So here we have the x, y, then height and width coordinates. Oh, sorry, not the height and width, the width and height. Alright, this is horizontal level, horizontal, vertical, vertical. So x and y coordinates would indicate where is the starting position. Well, our starting position, we want to be here, but just for the sake of it, I'll just start here at 10 by 10, and I'm going to make a rectangle or a square of 10 by 10 pixels. The width would indicate how many pixels in width would be the shape, and the height would say how many pixels in height the shape will be. To make sure you understand what he's doing, let's draw 10 by 10 by 10, or 10, which basically means a rectangle or a square here, meaning 10 pixels, which is reference to this coordinate here in the corner. You can see here 0.0 would be here very at the top. If I do here 0, 0, you will see exactly what we get. I'm going to save that, refresh. Now we are moving here in the top, exactly at the starting point. But I want to go at the very end here. So how do we do that? Remember, we had here the top, bottom, and then the width and height. I realize we might need to use even the width, or maybe not. Well, let's see. We want to move this. So how do we move this? We can get here the right. I guess we can get the right position to start here. So if I save that, move there. Now you can see here we're exactly next here. And then what we can do here, we can go down here, which is the top. We'll do this. Push that. There we are. So now we're exactly matching with this line here. Of course, I would like to push it a little bit more to the right. Remember, we have here a padding. If I look here in the options, we had a padding of right of 30 pixels. So what I would say here, what would make sense is to give the right here plus 15 pixels. So we have some space here. Save that. Alright, there we are. And now I want to have the full height here. Luckily, we have the height here. We can just grab this height. We can say it in here. If I save that, there we are. Now we have this matching line here, and then this here was the width of the amount of pixels here. We can increase this, but in my opinion, I think that will be more than sufficient. If I save this, this will look fine, but I think 10 pixels is a very decent amount. Alright, so now we have this. What we want to do now is basically next is, well, let's close that. Alright, I want to have here the highest value and here the lowest value. Let's put it up here, and then it's just here matching. So what is the highest value? Well, that depends on this specific radius here, the number 10. That's the highest. The lowest was, if I'm not mistaken, was number 2. So number 2 will be here, and we will make this dynamic. So what we're going to do here is the following. We're going to create here another item. We say ctx dot, and we're going to say here, this is the font style. So we say here fill style first. And then what I want to do as well, we do this one here. Here we'll say ctx.restore. The moment we do this, the blue color, whatever we have here, will not be transferred anywhere else. And I just want to make sure we do the restore so we don't transfer it anywhere else. And then later on we clean up everything. So once we have this, we have the ctx fill here. And I'm going to just give this a black color for now. And then what I want to say here, ctx.font. So let's give it a font design. And in this case, we could say 12 pixels. And then we can say here maybe Arial. And if I'm not mistaken, Arial is very similar, or if not, it's sans serif. That's probably the one that's by default in the canvas or in Chart.js. So then what I want to do here is, let's say here the text. So there will be fill, ctx dot fill text with capital T. And here, what will be the text? Well, let's say here for now, I'm just going to put in here number 2. And this number 2 here, there will be the text, comma, and then what I want to do here is I want to position it. Where do I want to position it? Number 2 should be at the bottom here because that's the lowest value. So we know already here we have the bottom, will help us, and we have also the right side. So our position will be, because we have x and y, that's the coordinates we need to work with. So we're going to say here, this will be right for now, and then here we're going to say here, bottom. Save this, refresh. So So you can see here, now we get this, but of course this is not really desirable and it's not really at the right place. We need to move this a bit more. Remember the plus 15 we did here? So we can say here, plus 15 as well. If I save this, there we are. So now we get this and it will start here, but normally we would like to have like a width here, put it in the center. So what we could do here is the following. Well, let's first push this down a little bit more, because you can see here it is not really good. So we say let's do plus, let's say 10 pixels. Save that, refresh. Alright, so that is very much better, at least. So then what I want to do here is I want to do the following. I'm going to say here ctx.text align. Let's say your center. So we're going to push this into the center. Save that. Refresh. Now it's center, but the center is matching with where it starts. So what we need to do is we need to figure out what is the width here between, so we can get here as well the center. So we know that our width is 10 pixels. So we moved it to the right, and then our width was 10. So basically it's right plus 25, but it's not really plus 25. It's 10 pixels only. So the center of that one is basically 10 divided by 2, which makes sense because it's 10 pixels, and if we go in the center, we should have that one. There we are. So that's the official coordinate. So what we could do here, plus 5 in essence. Alright, so but I break this down here so you have an easy understanding of it. So now we have this, but you can see the color is off. Let's make it the original color, which is hashtag 666. Save that, refresh. Alright, so now we have matching color. What I want to do here is at the very top, the same situation. I'm going to copy this, put it here down, and then we're going to say what is the highest value was 10, and we're going to automate this. So don't worry, we're going to cover that one. Then what I want to do here is exactly the opposite, because right now if I do here, it's just down here, but I want to push it up. Remember here we had the right plus 15, alright, this is all fine, but this is instead of bottom, I want to say top. Save that, refresh. Now you can see it goes down here. Why it goes down? Because the upper part is 0, and this down here would be the width or the height of the canvas, which is, if I'm not mistaken, about 400 pixels. If I click on this, or 350, as you can see here, the height is 350. So if up is 0, we need to, instead of adding a plus, we need to go negative, minus, to push it up. So we're going to say here, top minus 10 pixels, save that, refresh. There we are. So we're here, and although I know that this might not really be in the center, but that's alright for now. Or maybe if I would deduct this with 14 pixels, well, I guess I'll just leave it like that. It looks very acceptable. Anyway, so what I want to do now is, of course, is the color, or no, not yet. Let's get this dynamic. So how do we do this? Well, for this we need to create an array. So what I'm going to do here, just down, or just here, I'm going to say a constant, and I'm going to create a radius. And what I really need here, this radius is blank. What I really need is all of these values here in an array, so we can start to grab the lowest value from the array and the highest value from the array. And then we can eventually make this dynamic. So what I'm going to do here, because of this array, I'm going to make a blank array, radius, and then what we're going to say is the following. I'm going to say a chart.data. So if you're wondering how do I get to chart, remember we are still in the chart here. And well, let me refresh. Open up developer tab, click here. You're going here into chart. This is the chart, by the way. That's the console log of chart. If I scroll down here, you will see here somewhere the data object. Click on this. We go here into the data sets. In this case, we only have one data set, so we have this one that we find. And then you can see here, we want to get the R, the radius, every one of them. So I want to loop through this and just get all of these R's and push them in a new array, so we can compare them. So I'm going to say chart.data sets index 0 dot. And then what I want to do here is the following. I'm going to say here the data and then dot for each. So I'm going to look through every item in this data set. And I'm going to say here for every data point, and I'm going to make this here a arrow functionality, which is a callback. And then we're going to say here radius dot push. And what I'm going to really do here is basically this. I want to push every item in here. So what do I really want here? Well, let me show you. That's maybe makes more sense because I'm going too fast, I notice. So I'm going to say here data point. And this data point here, we can say here .r, and then we do a console log. Because why I'm doing this is basically I'm just going into the R itself. So refresh here, you can see here now we get all these values nicely. So all I want to do now is this value here being pushed into our radius. So we're going to say copy this, push it in there. Alright, comment this out. I'll also comment out this one there. Save that. And then what I want to do here is console log of our new radius array with all the values from our datapoint.r. Save, refresh. As you can see here, of course it loops many times because of the animations, but this is what we have here. So we have here the 10, we have all of these R values, and now we can easily extract the lowest and the highest value. And normally, this is the thing here, if you have this in an array already, you can put it here up, and then you could just do it here, and you could basically make this one here soft coded as well. So what I want to do here is the following. We have this here, alright, so just delete this. I'm going to grab here this. And what I want to do here, or well, let me show you this. I'm going to say a console log again. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the lowest value. So how do we get the lowest value? I'm going to say math, I'm going to use a math functionality, min. And then what I'm going to do here is radius, but remember, this radius is an array. As you can see, we have brackets. Because it's an array, I must use here triple dots, which is basically the rest operator indicating get this array here or copy this array and then put it in here. If you don't do this, it will not work. So if I save this now, then refresh, you should see here the lowest value is number 2, which is correct because this is number 2 here. Alright, so then we have this one here. Let's copy this, put it in there. Next, what we want to do is the max value, and of course the max value is this. Do that one. What's the highest value is number 10. There we are. Copy this, put number 10 in here. So then I can just delete this, save that, refresh. To check if this really works, what I need to do here is, well, we can say here number 15, and I'll just change this number 15 as well. If I save that, there you are, number 15, and then everything else starts to change as well. Alright, so we have this. Now final item is, how do we get the gradient color here? Because now we have everything gradient, final item here. Alright, so to do this, remember we had here, where is the item, the fill style, or this one here. Remember we had this here as a gradient, or at least we have this background color, but now I want the gradient color. So to do that, I need to use here the constant of gradient. We're going to use a function. I'm going to say a ctx dot create linear gradient, and this create linear gradient will have four values: the x, the y, and then we have here basically the width and the height. Very similar to what we have elsewhere with what was that? I guess here the fill rect. Exactly the same structuring. However, for us, what is more important now is what we want to do is we want to gradually change the color. When we go down, it will go to the lighter color, and while it's up, it will be the darkest. That will mean we're basically going to focus on a vertical level. Right? We have horizontal lines that eventually changes the color, but it's vertically, it impacts it. So once you go more down, it will start to change. So that would mean here, all I want to do here is I want to, where is that? This one here. I don't want to work with the x and or at least the x value and the width value, because we're not going to focus on that. They're not important for us. You know, we get a diagonal or opposite effect. So what I want to do here is just basically on top, and we're going to work with the height, indicating how many pixels. Alright, so once we have this, what I want to do next is I'm going to say here gradient, which is basically this constant here now. Now I can say here the starting color. I'm going to say add color stop. And this here consists of two items. This is the percentage between 0 and 1 means 100%. And then here is the color. So the first thing here is we have to understand what we want. If up will be the solid color and down will be the more transparent color, we will start with up because it works from top to bottom. Remember that. It works from top to bottom. So let's grab the color that we want. This is the solid color. I'm going to grab this color here. Put it in there. Alright. And then here, at 0% would mean we start at the very top here with this solid color. And then what I want to do is here another one, gradient. Put this in here. And then we're going to say here, this will be, we were not going to say 0. If you put 0, you can see here now. Alright, it doesn't work yet. Because this needs to be 100%. If you do 0, it will be fully transparent at the bottom. And I don't want that. So, but anyway, let me show you this. So we say fill style is the gradient, because we have now the gradient settings. Save, refresh. As you can see here, now it gets fully transparent. And that's not the case because number 2 is still solid or still visible. And if it will be transparent, it would not make any sense, of course. It's hard to read in our chart. So what I'm going to do here is will be 0.2. That's the starting point. As you can see here, now we have this and we have that. If I change now our values, let's make instead of this 50, well, I don't know if 50 is really good, but let's say 25, it will be too large. It will probably not be visible on the chart. Refresh, there we are. This and that, you can see here, gradually our colors are changing. If I have one here, let's say 20, save that. There you are. 20 is slightly more darker compared to the others, but you can see it's lighter than that one. And this is basically how you can create this color scale, which would be suitable for our bubble chart. So if you enjoyed this video, maybe you would have another data set as well. And what we can do then in that case, of course, is working with different shapes. And you can see here we have all these different shapes that we want to use. These are what we call point styles, and they're quite interesting as well. So we can assign every one of them a different shape while maintaining the color the same. Because you can imagine here, if you would have different colors, it will not anymore match here with this scale.